And welcome back to the O Hockey Show. Once again, of course, I am your host, Owen. And today we are talking about some contracts that are coming to an end this upcoming season. So let's start off with some obvious ones like Nate. Well, I'd like to preface that I'm not talking about guys with extensions, obviously. These are contracts coming to an end, not like Huberdeau, where it's coming to an end and he already has this extension. I'm talking about guys that need extensions or they will become free agents this upcoming season. So, let's start off with the obvious one that we all know of. Nathan MacKinnon. Reports are that he's going to probably get $13.5 million from the Avalanche, which is absolutely insane. I personally, I've gone over this a lot. I do not think at all that this is what he's worth. I think he's at least a good $10 million, but I would not put him at 13.5. I know he's incredible. Definitely top 5 player in the league. Easily, hands down. Top 3, maybe. But number 1 top guy in the league to get paid that. He hasn't even got to 100 points, which I know he's come close. He's been 1 point shy. But just like, there's guys that repeatedly get to 100 points, and they're not even close being paid in the ballpark of $13.5 million. So, just kind of, I don't agree with MacKinnon getting that much. But if that's what the Avs want to do to give him, to keep him around on the team, then I guess feel free to do so. But I hope the Sharks or any of the teams that I really cheer for would be willing to give him that, because that would be absolutely... he's just not worth it. It's just not worth it in my eyes. Next, Vladimir Tarasenko, of course, a guy that's been the guy who's represented the Blues for the past, has it been a decade already he's been on that team? This guy is been the Blues, and last season he requested a trade out of the city, but they didn't, and they went on to have a pretty good run this year, but and last year, actually. Wait a second, was it last year, or was it? Yeah, whatever it was. Got 82 points to lead the team that he requested to leave from, so, which is interesting, which is funny. You never would think that a guy would request a trade from his team, but also end up having a pretty good season with his team and himself. So, this is kind of a funny thing. I hear rumors that maybe he could get traded, but I don't see it happening. But for Vladimir Tarasenko, I would say he's probably worth a good $7 million. I would say $7-8 million for him. I guess depending on how he does this season, you could evaluate it at the end of it and say, well, if he's still staying solid, I'd say maybe closer to 8. But if he's not, I would say probably 7. But good 8-7 player right there. David Pasternak. Now, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have an extension. Some of these guys on this list, there aren't all the guys, but this is clearly not all the list, just some players that I wanted to point out. But I went to Cap Friendly, and some of their players didn't say they have extensions, but then I was like, they definitely do, like Robert Thomas and Anthony Cirelli. So I was kind of skeptical. I'm pretty sure Pasternak doesn't have a extension going forward, and which I'm fully believe he's not going to be leaving the Bruins. But for me, he's probably worth he's a good at an 8-9, potentially 10, depending on how much. Maybe what if he doesn't want to stay on the Bruins and they really want to convince him to give him 10? But I would say he's a good $8-9 million player. Pasternak is going to be a solid goal scorer. I think the line that he's already on in Boston probably is where he wants to be anyway, so I don't see him leaving anyway. But $8-9 million is probably good for him, and the Bruins can make that work. Timo Meyer. Now, I know he didn't, because I am a Sharks fan, and I know that his was 4 years for $6 million each, which was a great deal at the time, and it still is as he leads the Sharks in points. Timo Meyer, if he was on a different team, he would absolutely be destroying the league. He would be a superstar every season, but no one really notices him because he's on the Sharks. If this guy was on another team, if this guy could go to like Florida or something, Timo Meyer would be absolutely, he could lead the league in goals, and I'm not even joking. He already is doing pretty good on a team like San Jose. Wait to see what he could do on a different team. Do I see him leaving the Sharks? I think the Sharks' predicament's pretty tight, and I feel like he could probably command $8 million, especially what he can do on another team. If what he was doing was worth 6, he's definitely worth probably $8 million on another solid team. And I feel like him going to a team like Florida or like Tampa Bay or something, that would be huge for those type of teams to get that one extra, like bam, this guy, he wouldn't, I don't think he would really be a great addition to, like, a team like the Colorado Avalanche, because they already have so many, like, kind of goal scorer top player guys that someone would be pushed to the third line. I don't think a team like that would really need him. I think a team like Tampa would really do great with one more, like, a definite guy on that lineup. So for him, I'd say probably I would say he's worth $8 million. That's where I would put him at. Next, Jordan Kairu. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a contract extension, but Cap Friendly also said that Robert Thomas did, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't. I looked. I'm pretty sure. But Kairu, I was against him, but ever since seeing him finally actually grow and stay developed, he was one of those guys where I was like, he had one good year and everyone's freaking out, but he's continued that playing style. He's continued to be amazing, and I've totally turned on him. Kairu is a definite superstar, and for me, I would say he's probably a good $5-6 million, maybe even more. I'm probably incorrect about that. I feel like maybe his top end is maybe 7, but I feel like a solid 6 is where Jordan Kairu's at. A $6 million guy. Leaving St. Louis, I would say probably not. I don't see St. Louis giving up Jordan Kairu. Do they sign him to 8 years? Probably. I would say no, but I would say a good 4x6 contract, like Timo Meyer got, would be pretty good for Jordan Kairu. Roope Hintz, one of the heart and souls of the Dallas Stars, one of the most, I wouldn't say underrated anymore because everyone's kind of figured it out, but he's also not like amazing. So Roope Hintz, really solid player. I can't wait to see what he could do on a different team other than Dallas. So I would say he's probably another guy I would put around like 6-7 million. 6-7 million for Roope Hintz would be pretty good. Maybe on a different team he could produce more with some better talent. Not that Robertson and Pavelski are bad players, but just to see what he could do on another team, maybe with some better players than that. Not that they're bad in any way. But Hintz on another team could do pretty good. So I'd say 6-7 for Roope Hintz. Leaving the Stars, probably not, but if he did, wouldn't be the most surprised in the world. Dylan Larkin, a guy who's been not struggling, but on a struggling team for so long, I would say that at the end of the season, he would probably want to leave Detroit and finally go to a contending team. But I think Detroit's finally turning. Now they have Yzerman in the office, and they're bringing in guys. They brought in Kubalik and Perron. I mean, I've already gone over how much I love the Red Wings and their upcoming season. But I think Larkin, if it wasn't for the changes being made, he would probably leave. But I think he's going to stick around and see where this new Red Wings front office is going to bring this team to. I think they're going to be pretty good, and I think Larkin is going to stick around. What is Dylan Larkin worth? I don't know. He's always been on a bad team, so it's kind of hard for me to speculate because it's like, well, do you go off of what he's been stuck with or what he can use in the future? I would say that maybe at his best potential, he could be maybe worth an 8 to 9 million player if he had like good surrounding talent. Let's just say that instead he switched places with like Barkov or something, and he played with Reinhart, and he played with Hornquist, and he could play with Duclair, and he could play with all those type of players. I would say he's probably worth a good 8 to 9 million, but in Detroit right now with how bad the team is, I would say probably a good 6-7 million for him. So it's that's like kind of where I would put Dylan Larkin around. Do I see him leaving? No, I don't think he will. But next, Michael Bunting. Do I see him leaving this team? No, I'm pretty sure this was his entry-level contract. So no, it wasn't. Yes, it was. No, I'm actually not sure. But for him, once again, it's another case where it's like, okay, well, he was on one of the best teams, or maybe the top line with two of the very best players in the world, the top goal scorer in the world right now, and one of the best guys, Marner and Matthews. What do you pay a guy like that? Because let's just hypothetically say Michael Bunting's like, nah, I'm not coming back to the team. What would another team think they should pay him, you know? And only having one good season, 63 points. He's the type of guy I don't see going down, but I don't see him getting up there. Like, I don't really see him being like an 80 points player, but maybe he is. I would say he's probably a solid, 5-6 million. Actually, no. I would say more of like I would say Bunting could maybe, I would say if I was a smart GM, I would be like, okay, we'll give you 1 year for 5 million. Show us what you got. Show us one more year that you're a solid player and this wasn't a fluke. And then after that, I would say if he gets to 60 points at least again, I'd say probably like a good 7 million. 7 million for Michael Bunting. If he keeps up what he's doing, I would say 6-7 is probably good for him. And last on the list that I have on the board, Trevor Zegras, mainly just because he's going to be breaking into his contract. What do the Ducks expect to pay a guy like this? A guy that obviously has all the potential in the world going forward, and probably going to spark a new wave of types of young players coming up. What do you pay a guy like that? I think probably at his most in a few years when the team's actually good and he's actually starting to produce a lot, I could see Zegras getting to a good 9 million. But for his next contract, I would say maybe. See, here's the tough part, because a lot of times they sign guys for what they will do in the future. So they could sign him to 9 million for 8 years or something, let's just say. But it's like he's not there yet. So I would say I think a good price for him now would be probably like a 4 or 5 million. But once he starts hitting his stride and learning how to really be the player that he can be, I would say he's probably a good 8-9. But I don't know what the Ducks would do. Do you sign him super long term for a lot of money, expecting him to grow into that guy eventually? Or do you give him a short term contract to just get him to that point? So it's interesting with Zegras there. There's other guys like Tim Stutzel or Stutzel, however you want to say his name. The guy that with the same kind of situation going forward. There's also some guys like, there's a lot of names I couldn't fit on the board. But there's a lot of players left that I didn't get to talk about, but I was also confused if they had extensions or not. But it's kind of an interesting question of, like, where do these type of guys go? Because even if one of them is, like, out there for free agency, I mean, Timo Meyer and Vladimir Tarasenko can easily change a team around. I mean, imagine those two guys signing to, like the Seattle Kraken or something. Like, that would totally put them into a superstar problem with what they already got going with Shane Wright and Matty Beniers, along with, like, Yanni Gordon and whatnot. Adding those two guys to the lineup, and if they could boost their defense, that could be obviously one of the top teams in the league. So, it's all interesting to see where these type of players can go. Out of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess I have 9 on the board. I thought I put 10. Out of the 9 on the board, how many do I expect them to be free agents? I'd say at least probably 1 or 2, right? One or two of them has to be free. It always happens. I would say maybe Tarasenko becomes free, and maybe Meyer. Maybe Meyer goes free because he wants to try to actually go to a contending team while he's still a superstar and is young. But that's really all I have to talk about these NHL contracts ending. I guess if you liked this video, please pick up your free subscription down below by hitting that red subscribe button. If you like this video, leave a like, not a dislike. You go down below and leave any comments, concerns, suggestions, reviews, feedback, or other types of opinions, tangents, and rants. And tell me, what do you think about some of these guys? What do you think they're owed? What do you think they should be paid? And who becomes a free agent? But until next time, I've been Owen. Too sweet, and ta-ta for now.